Hello, I'm Ronald Hawkins, Principal of Harbor Law School. Welcome to SBAC and Me, Lumos Learning. Lumos Learning provides free SBAC practice tests and sample questions for math and ELA assessments. This free resource includes technology-enhanced questions aligned to learning standards. The website features hundreds of grade-specific questions in both math and ELA, which are designed to familiarize students with the learning standards and new item types included on the SBAC assessment. One of the features that I like is that scholars will get instant feedback along with diagnostic reports. It is ideal for diagnosing scholars' learning difficulties, intervention, remedial programs, and standardized test preparation. Let's take a look now. Go to lumoslearning.com. Once here, go to the tab Resources. Then at the pull-down menu, you're going to select Free Practice Tests and Sample Questions. Now we're going to practice the SBAC, so select SBAC. Here you're going to select the grade in either the math or ELA, also in English or Spanish. So let's select 4th grade English ELA. So we're going to take the SBAC online practice and assessments for grade 4 ELA. Let's take a look here. So there's a practice 1, practice test 2, reading standards for literature, reading standards for informational text, writing standards, language standards, Smarter Balance practice test items. So let's go up and we'll do practice test number 2, and let's do Cat 2. One of the features, as you see, is this program will read the text to the scholar. So they can read along as it reads to them, or they can just listen. So let's take a listen.
I had been craving chocolate ice cream all day. Finally, school was over and I could go get a huge cone of chocolate ice cream. The line was long, but it was worth the wait. The first taste of my ice cream cone was delicious. Then, the worst thing imaginable happened. I bumped into the person behind me and dropped my ice cream on the floor. Summarize the above text using one sentence.
Okay, so I would have the scholar reread the paragraph one more time, so they are looking for details and they need to be able to summarize what they've read. So the answer I'm going to select is A. I craved ice cream all day, but when I finally got a cone, I dropped it on the floor. So I'm going to select A and now hit Next. Question number 2. So let's take a listen. Timothy.
Timothy. Timothy is a student at my school. He is well liked by all of the teachers and students. We all know that we can count on Timothy to keep our secrets, to help us if we ask, and to always be on time. We know that he is always honest and expects others to be honest as well. Last summer, Timothy got a job walking dogs each morning. When school started this year, everyone encouraged him to quit his job, but he decided to keep it. He knew it would be hard to get up every morning at 5 a.m. in order to get all of the dogs walked and then go to school all day. In addition, he plans to sing in the chorus, play basketball, and be a mentor in the tutoring program this year. He knows it will not be easy, but he thinks his hard work will be worth it. He is trying to save enough money to go to a youth camp next summer. According to the above passage, Timothy is saving his money for what upcoming event? Highlight the correct answer choice. A football game, a chorus trip, youth camp, a basketball game.
Okay, so they would reread it one more time. And he's saving money for what? Youth camp. So select youth camp. You notice it's highlighted now to blue. And let's hit Next. Okay, this is question 3 of 3. So we have the text to the left, and then the questions are to the right. Now notice this has a 2-part answer. You have a part A and part B. So let's take a listen.
What was that? By Michael Signal. 1. What was that? Brian asked with a cringe in his voice. I think it was some sort of cat, Spencer replied. Then they heard it again. Meow, bellowed out in a deep tone. It was so slow that it sounded like 2 words. Spencer, Brian said faintly, that's not a cat. No, I suppose not, said Spencer. 2. Brian had stopped walking, but Spencer crept up to the next tree. Spencer, we're too far. We should go back, Brian pleaded. 3. Brian and Spencer were on a camping trip with Spencer's uncles. The uncles had gone to collect wood for roasting hot dogs. They told Brian and Spencer to stay at the campsite, but Brian and Spencer had wandered at least a mile away from the site. The trees were all starting to look the same, and the boys weren't that good with directions. They were lost. It's not like we know how to get back to the campsite, Spencer said calmly. Meow. Boomed out, and then again. Meow. 4. Brian mustered up just enough courage to catch up to Spencer. He grabbed him squarely by the shoulders and stared straight into his eyes. He said, I'm not ashamed of my fear, in a firm, but soft voice. We should go. 5. I'm not ashamed of your fear either, was the first half of Spencer's response. Then he continued, I've always known you were a scaredy cat. Do you want to be eaten? Brian asked. Spencer answered with his own question. By a cat? He asked. Meow. 6. That startled both boys, but Spencer quickly regained his wits. I most definitely do not want to be eaten by a cat, Brian responded surely. Fair enough, Spencer said. Neither do I, but I'm pretty certain that we won't get eaten out here. 7. Then, the strange meows changed. The next sound from the woods changed Spencer's demeanor completely. Spencer creaked from the trees and trailed off. 8. Brian froze in his tracks, for just a second, but Spencer leapt like he had rocket packs in his sneakers. He stretched up for a tree branch and pulled himself high from the grassy ground. Get up here, he yelled. But when Spencer looked down, he didn't see Brian. He shook so hard he slipped from the tree. He grabbed the same branch on the way down. It slowed his fall as it snapped from the tree. Then he slowly crashed to the ground with a light thud. He sprung to his feet in fractions of a second, and he almost sprinted off. But the sound of laughter stopped him dead. It was roaring hysterical laughter. It was on the ground, crouched and kicking laughter. It was also familiar laughter. 9. Uncle Pete. Spencer screamed. He spun around toward the laughter and saw his uncle, Pete. Pete was on the ground rolling back and forth, laughing in uncontrollable spasms. Pete's brother, Mick, had managed to calm down enough to climb to his feet, but he still pointed and laughed at Spencer. Did you see his face? Mick huffed, between laughs. 10. Brian was just beginning to understand what had happened. He had run the same time that Spencer climbed. They both stopped when they heard the familiar laughs of Spencer's uncles, but Brian had run pretty far. He turned back towards the voices when he heard Pete start to talk. Brian stood, staring at the pranksters, with his hand over his chest as if his heart was just about to give out. Spencer, I don't like your family anymore, Brian said. He may have been joking. 11. By now, Pete was also standing. His laughter gave way to a more serious tone. We told you to stay at the campsite, Pete scolded. We were playing a joke, but we also wanted to teach you a lesson. 12. Mick joined in with, we got back to the campsite, but you weren't there. It didn't take us long to find you though, so we just followed you, and then Spencer cut his uncle off in mid-sentence. We know what happened next, he said. So I guess you won't wander off again? Pete asked. The boys absolutely did not wander off again. Part A. Which word best describes Spencer?
So is he timid, adventurous, cranky, careful? I'm going to say he's B, adventurous. All right, and now part B.
Which detail from the selection supports the answer to part A?
All right, so the scholar will read through the 4 choices. And I'm going to say it's A. And now let's check our results. Okay. So, yes, we scored 100%. Air high fives. Woo woo! We got 4 correct, 0 to be graded, and 0 wrong. So now let's see what Lumos has to tell us.
Hey, you have got 100%. You did an awesome job. You have answered 4 questions. You got 4 right. You can use the report below for additional insights about your standards mastery. To learn more about the Lumos online program or printed books for your SBAC practice, use the buttons provided at the top right corner. Thank you.
All right, so here's the topic, the standard, our score, and recommendation. And here it will break down the question, the results, and then also the standards are here. Now, if it's incorrect, what would happen here is they will give you a standard to practice whatever the skill is. So if you miss something, it would show up here. You would click on that, and that would select a standard that's less difficult. And of course, it's building momentum to master the standard in which you're testing for. All right, I hope this was awesome for you. Make sure you have your kids practice this daily. There are a lot of questions, and I would add it in addition to their homework. I'm Ronald Hawkins. Until next time, take care.